Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining Jeff and I today on our webcast. Jeff, did you stay up late watching the election?
Yep, I did. I was up till about almost 2 o'clock in the morning, just following a couple ridings I had my eye on. One of them was decided by about 500 votes, and there were 50,000 cast in that particular riding. So yeah, I did watch it, and I think that if you were to analyze the conservative strategy, you'd probably conclude that they should have waited until the campaign period to so heavily attack Trudeau because the country I think is in the mood for change, and they brought change, but it was
Mhm.
back in January. It cost them a majority government or any government for that matter. So nevertheless, yeah, so
Yeah.
let's get to the questions. This first one is probably the question we get asked the most. How do I log into my national bank account?
Well, once you become a client, we work with our custodian, National Bank Independent Network. And what they do is we provide the information to them and they come back with a logon ID and password that is time sensitive. So you've got like maybe 5 business days to log on to the website that you can actually find on our website in the right-hand corner, or you will be provided a link that will take you directly to that area. And once you put in the information that we've provided, you'll have access to your accounts anytime you wish in real time. So if you don't get into the website in time within that business day time frame and it times out, we can always reset it. It is not a big deal. So, uh, Jeff, this is for you. What do you think of AI making investment decisions?
Yeah, that's very topical right now. We use AI to help us clarify uncertainty or to answer questions, but we don't use AI to help us, or we don't use AI to make decisions. It never has the final word. And AI is based on, an algorithm, and it uses historical data, and sometimes it's wrong. And a good example would have been earlier this month when the S&P 500 was down about 11% in 2 days. That has only happened 10 other times since the 1930s. And so AI is limited in its sample size, which it can look at to offer suggestions as to what to do. So, as I say, we use it as a tool, but
Mhm.
it does not have the final say on anything. All right, next question. How do I find out my tax-free savings account limit?
Okay, well, tax-free savings accounts were introduced in 2009, as we all know, and the limit back then, I believe, was about $5,000. And each year it has incrementally gone up, increased a little bit. Some years have stayed status quo, but some have increased. So last year, 2024, the limit was 7,000. If you're looking to find out if you've got several tax-free savings accounts at different institutions, the best thing to do would go into the CRA website with a login ID and password, and it will pop up all of your own personal information, including RSPs, tax-free savings accounts. All of that information will be there for you. And we recommend that if you're going to do that, wait till after tax season. Wait for all the tax slips to be in and uploaded, all of our tax information complete. Give the government a little bit of leeway and then go ahead after April sometime and take a look. Because that
Yeah.
that that will be, yeah, things will be a little more accurate for you.
Yeah, because the financial institutions send information to CRA and it's not always on January the 1st. So we've seen
No.
examples of when the CRA posted somebody's TFSA limit and it was inaccurate. So
hmm
good answer. Next one. Why do I have so many RSP contribution slips?
Well, if you're making RSP contributions throughout the year 2024, usually the institutions will accumulate the whole total and you'll receive like one contribution receipt. If you're making contributions from January 1st for the first 60 days of the new year. They will probably, if you're making multiple contributions, they will probably give you individual tax, like RSP contribution receipts. So if you're making 100 per month, you'll get 2 contribution receipts for the first 60 days. Okay, so that's why you would receive multiple slips. Okay, next. What do you mean when you say there's a difference between the stock market and the economy?
Okay, so the economy tells us where we are today based on historical data up to right now. The stock market, on the other hand, prices in future expectations. So the two do not have a one-to-one correlation in the short term. A good example of this would be if you looked back at the great financial crisis, the S&P 500 plummeted in the fall and the winter of 2008, and then it bottomed on March the 6th of 2009. Meanwhile, the economy was still in a recession up until June when unemployment kept rising. And then in June, it came out of the recession. But meanwhile, by that point, the S&P 500 had already rallied 35%. So as a rule of thumb, I usually think the economy, or pardon me, the stock market prices in what the economy might look like 6 months from now. And so the two don't move at a perfect correlation. So that's what we mean. Okay, this next question's this one's more involved. Should I
Yeah.
take my CPP at the age of 60? So we got this one a couple weeks ago. First of all, we have done a webcast on this topic. If you want to listen to it, that was in September of 2022, and all of our content is archived on our website. But we answered this one by looking at the pros and cons to taking CPP early. You can take CPP as early as 60 and as late as 70. And where you take it within that spectrum depends on you. So we would encourage anyone with this question to reach out to us and we would come up with a more customized answer. But for this webcast, why don't we just discuss pros and cons to taking it at age 60? So,
Mhm.
Sonny, do you want to talk about pros and why
Yeah.
don't I talk cons? So this is if
Okay.
you're
Well,
taking it at 60.
yeah. So if you're 60 and you've decided, it really depends on health history, family history, shortened life expectancy. It depends on your personal preference. If you, like it's hard to project or predict things like that. But if you have a family history that has health issues or things like that, that's maybe a reason to take it earlier rather than later. It's also a supplement. So if you're working part-time, you can supplement some of your income with the CPP starting earlier. If you're retired prior to 60 or 60 plus, you can definitely supplement it again with taking it earlier. I think that's about, I've touched on everything. Why don't you talk about the cons?
Okay, so the major con to taking CPP early is that if you waited, you would get more. So just to throw some numbers at you, if you were to wait to take your CPP at 65 years old instead of 60, um, or let me say that in the reverse, you would if you took it at 60, you receive 36% less than if you took it at age 65. Okay, and if you waited to 70, you would get 42% more than if you took it at 65. So all that
Mhm.
is to say the longer you wait, the larger your CPP
Yeah.
payments received would go up by. But as you say, if you know if you're not expecting to live into your 90s, I mean that's the balancing act. Um, there's actually a discussion about changing that, but right now it is those are the rules as they are. So that's the
Mhm.
major con. Um, and Yeah, so that let's just leave it at that. It's a very complicated matter. So if you're
Yeah.
nearing 60 and you're wondering if you should take CPP, do reach out to us and we'll go through it with you. Okay, and last question.
What is the T1135? Foreign
Okay, this is
income calculation.
this is a disclosure form that is sent to CRA. It discloses your foreign assets. So if you paid more than 100,000 Canadian for a foreign asset, and that could be like US stocks, even if it's held in a Canadian brokerage account, foreign rental properties, foreign bank accounts, anything over 100,000, you got to disclose to CRA that you've done this.
Hmm.
Um, and you want to do it because the penalties are very steep if you fail to disclose it. It's the higher of $100 or $25 per day, up to $2,500. So that's okay. So if you're more than 4 days late, you're paying 25 bucks a day.
Yeah,
So make sure you disclose that
costly.
information. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
We will
Thank you.
chat again.
Yep.